Ladies, gentlemen, and NB friends, welcome, good morning. It is a frosty and wintry morning. I am sitting here in my cozy little office, snuggled up, ready to talk about today's subject. Today's subject is an interesting one. I've been meaning to talk about this one for a while. I even directly mentioned in my winter anime video that the anime for this was coming out, and I just overall love this manhwa. This is a manhwa. Today's topic is solo leveling. I'm going to get this one out of the way since the anime is currently airing, and it is pretty damn good so far. As of recording, there are only 2 episodes out. The third should come out today. It is the 20th of January, so it should come out today. It's got my favorite composer in it, so, I got to talk about that. But mainly, today we are talking about the source material. So without further ado, let's talk about today's sponsor. Stop what you're doing right there. Are you listening to this in the background? Are you going over and playing a video game while you're listening to me talk about manga? What if I told you you could get paid to play that game? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Today's sponsor is freecash.com. Freecash.com is a website you can go to and get paid to play games, take surveys, and even test apps. After doing individual offers, you will be credited a balance into your freecash.com account. Completing offers into Freecash literally shows you exactly how much money that you earn from each individual offer, and you can withdraw those to a bunch of different things. Anywhere from PayPal to direct bank transfers, all the way to things my personal favorites like Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, even Valorant points and League of Legends points. If you want to get those skins, this is a very easy way to do that. Apparently, they've also added DoorDash and Minecraft since the last time I've recorded this ad spot, so hey, that's pretty cool. So if you'd like to get started earning some free cash today, head on over to freecash.com/r/BaronJ or use code BaronJ when you sign up. Get started making your free cash today. All right, solo leveling. This is one of those where the author, I believe it's a pseudonym. I believe Chugong is a pseudonym. Pseudonym. It's a pseudonym. Pseudonym, right? If you're not familiar with the concept of solo leveling, it's my favorite take on not necessarily isekai. I like to call it a reverse isekai, where the other world comes to you, essentially. So the basic plot of solo leveling goes as follows. Around the world, there are these supernatural gates that start to open up and monsters come out of them. So it's like a reverse isekai. And that's, I think, where a lot of my interest came to it. Instead of getting transported into the other world is coming to us. And people wake up in this world with these gates opening and they're like, oh, I can use fire magic and healing magic and stuff now. So they obviously fight off the ongoing invasion through the gates, and an association ranks these hunters, is what they're called, based on like what powers they have. So it's like S rank through E rank, and we follow the titular story, solo leveling, or what is it translated as? Oh, alternatively also called only I level up. Okay, so yeah, that's only I level up. There is one guy, this Sung Jin Woo, the main character, is an E rank, like bottom of the barrel adventurer. He can basically only use a knife, and that's it. And he's a little bit better than most like normal humans. That's it. In the first few chapters and in the first episode of the show, they tell you he basically gets demolished by level 1 goblins. Like, he is not doing so hot. However, he has a mom that is deathly ill and a sister who he wants to also provide for, so he keeps going back in because it's a very lucrative way of earning money in this world. And that's one of my other things, is the reasoning behind why they keep going back into these gates instead of just hiding them away or just going in and clearing them is because the resources inside can be provided for power and actual like real world benefits, which is why it makes so much sense. Yeah, one of my favorite things about solo leveling is the sort of, what is the word I'm looking for? The synergy between the reasoning for going in and the benefits applied to the real world. It just makes sense from a perspective of world building, why, oh yeah, there's a bunch of adventurers that keep wanting to go into these things because you make a lot of real world money because the crystals you find in there are like an actual energy source that could power an entire city if you find the right one. It's such a greatly like unique, well thought out process that I was really drawn to that when I first read it. But anyway, our main character, sorry, not to get too out of hand. I rambled too much. Sung Jin-woo goes into a gate to earn money. He's thinking about quitting. A girl is super into him and like wants to just be like, hey, why don't you don't have to go back in. Why don't you just like take an easy life and just like, come go out to dinner with me or something like that. They go in to a normal, like a C class, or not even C class. It's like a D rank dungeon. There's nothing in there. He gets hurt and, it's seeming like another everyday dungeon raid for them. And then they find another dungeon inside the one they have. This is heard of, but it's still very like unprecedented. So they vote whether or not they should go in. Obviously, because of greed reasons, they decide, okay, yeah, let's go in further. We want to see what's in here. Some people protest, but everybody goes in. They voted on it, they go in. And there's just a bunch of statues, like riddles and stuff like that, like a traditional D&D dungeon. And they're not doing the things that the rules say on the wall, so immediately some of the statues come to life and just absolutely, and spoilers, murder some of the initial party. Like they get literally pasted to the wall. It's pretty brutal. And some of them manage to get out alive thanks to the quick thinking of this E-class hero, Sung Jin-woo. He does a really, really good job of trying to figure out what the riddles mean. They figure it out. He is left behind as a sacrifice. And he then activates a hidden quest, quote unquote. The window pops up and it says hidden quest. And he reawakens and gains the ability to level up. So this is why it's my favorite concept for an isekai I've ever seen. He is the only guy that finds the only way to level up in this huge game that everyone is playing. Whereas like, it's less of a virtual reality thing. And I had a whole conversation with Colleen about this because she was kind of struggling with the concept of it. She said, so is this virtual reality? I said, no. It's sort of like, imagine, if you will, the world of Dungeons and Dragons. Like the Forgotten Realms. Imagine if one day one of those people realizes, oh shit, I'm an adventurer in an RPG. That's kind of what it is. It's a very meta-analysis of the entirety of an RPG. So not necessarily a deconstruction. It's a reimagining of what that would look like from a main character. Their standpoint, I mean. So yeah, Sung Jin-woo becomes the only character in this entire RPG that is a real world that he lives in and that a bunch of people live in. It's the real world, but it's got this RPG element to it. He is the only person that gains the ability to level up. And I can't really spoil too much else from it. He discovers he has the ability to do this, and then discovers much later on, this is a spoiler. If you have not read Solo Leveling, I highly recommend you do so. I don't know if the anime is going to get to this point, so if you want to get spoiled for that, you can. This is your spoiler warning. Please turn off the podcast for the next few minutes if you do not want to get spoiled to this. Much later on, after the first, I think, God, how many chapters was it? It's quite a few, but later on in his leveling up, he discovers he has a subclass, essentially. He has like a D&D subclass, and he's a fucking necromancer. Like, he can take the souls of dead creatures and turn them to his will. And it is a very much like, oh, I remember when I was reading it back, oh God, when did I start reading? I think it was during the pandemic. It was right in the second to last year of it running, yeah. I remember reading that moment and going, is he the fucking bad guy? Is he the fucking bad guy for this manga? I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Have we been reading this entire thing from the wrong perspective? It is such a tonal shift that is executed so masterfully from Shugong, the author. Just a genius move to just flip the whole thing on its end and just be like, no. It's less of a like, he's edgy kind of thing. Like, oh yeah, super edgelord character. It's very much a like, oh shit, is he the bad guy? Wait a second, is he the bad guy? I remember so many people, like, it was one of the craziest things that I had ever seen. It's nuts. Such a brilliant move, I could gush about that all day. But yeah, in terms of the overall story, because I want to start, like, I noticed that I tend to ramble a lot when I'm doing these Talkōbons, which is good because it's time and content, but I also want to make these digestible enough that you guys can listen to them comfortably. To talk about the overall plot, I will say there are a few things that happen towards the end of this series that kind of feel like the whole thing was sort of mashed together at the end. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's, to put it succinctly, it felt like there might have been a longer form ending that the author was kind of thinking of doing, maybe, towards the end, but it sort of got thrown to the wayside, and they just went with the story that they did. Am I complaining about that? No, that's just what it seems like it was. So, let's talk about the art. I have to say, Solo Leveling, the other reason why I got really into it is that the art itself, going in, I was like, okay, from the outlook, this looks like every other webtoon on the market. It looks like every other manhwa on the market. I was just like, it looks like everything else. Why do people keep reading this one? And then I sort of learned over that process that the reason why everything else looked like it was because a lot of the things I was seeing were new series that were copying this one. There is a insane like level of weirdly clean detail. If I were to describe it, it has, especially in the first few chapters, it has a lot of the best of both worlds in terms of like a lot of the shading and a lot of the detail put into the background work. I'm looking at like chapter 3 where they're walking into the dungeon for the first time. And I'm like looking at the background going, oh my gosh, the level of detail put into the background, the shading, the like hatching on the statues is really, really nice. And I'm looking at it going, this looks like a marriage of both worlds between manga and American comics to a degree, where like the coloring, the shading of it, all of it looks really, really good. And it's this perfect mesh of both worlds of that art medium, of just straight up, it looks like a really good comic. And that's really what you get with Solo Leveling. And that's something I wanted to touch on, is the art for Solo Leveling is incredibly clean, is what I want to call it. Whereas there are some manga where things can feel a little dense, very packed together. Solo Leveling is very, very clean. It's very, very efficient with the art. There are some of the instead of spreads like the 2-panel spreads that manga do, with manhwa and these like webtoons, it's sort of, they do the spreads like a stretch, like it stretches out like the whole image from top. It's like a vertical spread. And some of those in this series are absolutely nuts. There are so many good ones. I'm gonna go to there's a daily Solo Leveling panels. Perfect. That's exactly what I need. There's just so many incredible spreads and incredible shots. Just the attention to detail, posing, framing, all of it is so clean. It's really, really hard not to like a lot of this art because a lot of it looks just incredible. I'm also a big fan of the color scheming of a lot of this stuff, where Sung Jin-woo's abilities later on have this crazy sort of black, and in some it's purple, in some it's blue, and that might be a story thing that I'm forgetting about, but it looks really, really nice. I love the color scheming of it, and just in the long run, it looks really, really nice. Now, as far as the adaptation goes, from what they've done so far, the anime adaptation of Solo Leveling has been great. They've chosen a lot of really nice points to end the episodes on and do these really, really nice directorial shifts in between shots. And it's really, really cool. So far, it's been pretty much 100% of the first 3 chapters, but today I believe is where we start to see some stuff go down, as episode 3 is, I think, where he wakes up the first time. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about, something that I don't know if this got announced in the last week or so. No, it's on the way. I see. So Solo Leveling Ragnarok is a sequel, I think. It's either a sequel or a spin-off. So I guess there is a manhwa version of it coming out that is currently only available. Oh no, it's I see. Okay. I had completely misread this and thought that when they were talking about a novel, it was a mistranslation and they were just talking about the webtoon, but it's actually a novel. So Solo Leveling Ragnarok is a side story that I have not read. That is a novel. It is a web novel that is a sequel story that revolves around Sung Jin-woo's son, apparently. And there is a manhwa version of that is set to come out in the next couple of months. Got it. Okay. That makes sense. But I don't know when it's coming out. So maybe by the time this episode comes out, it's out. That'd be kind of neat. That'd be kind of sick. You'd love to see that. All in all, I have to say that Solo Leveling is one of my favorite new things that's come out in the past few years, and I highly recommend that you take a read for it. Now, I will say that you cannot read it, and this is just my personal thing. Do not read it on Tapas, 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 because that company is working their authors to the bone. That might be an entire other episode of this that I'll talk about because of some stuff that I learned very, very recently. If you're going to read it on Pocket Comics or Web Novel or Tappytoon. Read it on any of those places. Do not support Kakao is the name of the company. It is a very bad company. They do not treat their people well. So yeah, don't do that. Read it somewhere else. Or support the anime, because the anime is really good. With that being said, folks, I hope you enjoyed my little manga corner today. Have a great weekend, and thanks, y'all. Bye-bye.